If you're a guy who thinks fat loss is going to solve all his problems, think again. In this video today, I'm going to talk to you about some hidden truths or the dark secrets behind fat loss after working in the fitness industry for over 10 years now, and also having had multiple experiences of fat loss, getting to my leaner self, what that experience was like, and again, the things that people don't tell you. So let's let the scene. You're probably a guy who is looking to lose fat. You want to get abs, you want to get the veins, build muscle, look good so you can feel good and feel confident within your body. The first thing I'm going to say is that it's not inherently wrong. You will feel more confident. You will be more proud of your physique. And for sure, people are probably going to find you more attractive physically. However, one big thing that people don't teach you about fat loss is that even though you look really good, you won't always feel really good. A lot of the comparisons that we draw from what we see on social media, on YouTube now, of these guys with incredible physiques, heaps of muscle, super lean, they don't tell you how they feel or what it was like to get there, and you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. You're not seeing everything that went into it. You're not even considering the amount of time, effort, and consistency that led to that result, but also the fatigue and everything else that came with it. All of the negatives that came before that just to achieve that outcome. Now, we can talk all we want about the guys who have some sort of enhancements. However, in my belief, it still takes these guys a lot of hard work, time, and consistency, again, to get there. However, for the people without it, without that extra support, depending on the person, they can have a very rough time. To give you some context of that, I've probably been at my leanest points 2 to 3 times in my life that I can think of. One of the most recent times would have been coming into this year of 2025. Coming out of a breakup, I wanted to work on myself. I wanted to get confident within how I looked and how I felt again. And I can tell you, it was pretty sick to get to that point where I was super lean, had veins coming across the abs and everything. But as with any other time I've gotten super lean, I can tell you that whilst I looked good, I did not feel good because my body did not have the energy that it needed to operate at its best. I couldn't perform at my best. My lifts weren't going up in the gym. My runs were kind of maintaining, if not seeing some improvements there. However, there was a lot more room for that to happen. Not to mention the fact that I had less drive with business. I was less creative because I was more fatigued a lot of the time. Now, I know it seems like I'm setting a real negative scene for fat loss and getting to your leanest physique. And trust me, it's not all bad, and we've got to remember that this was my experience of it. And there is things I could do better to optimize this experience, like making sure I'm always getting enough sleep, managing my training load better, being smarter with how I handle stress in my life. However, given any experience that I have gotten lean, it's not been the best time. Once I get to that point, if I'm 7 or 8% body fat, reverting back to one of the other times I did this, it was a weight cut for a fight. And to get to that point and actually be training for a sport, my performance at the end of it in that peak week was shocking. Until I actually had my refeed the night before my fight, my energy that whole week was terrible. The weeks leading into that were terrible. My running before training started to go downhill. It was just slow, low heart rate. I couldn't operate at higher intensities. In between rounds, in between sparring that, I started to notice the push from being in this calorie deficit. So the story that I'm telling you here is that your performance is going to be affected when you are working towards fat loss. Now, why this is relevant to some of you guys out there that watch my content, it's likely that you may have some interest in running or in some sort of sport. What we need to remember is that whilst a lean physique looks good, again, it won't always feel good, and it is definitely going to be a hindrance to your performance when you're not giving your body enough energy. When we look at fat loss, a lot of people tend to reduce their carbohydrate intake a lot. So if we're looking to operate at higher intensities, this is our fuel source for it, and we haven't got as much. And if we deplete it, well, we're working with no actual gas to fuel these activities. So just know that if you're someone that is super keen on getting lean, getting diet shredded, whatever you want to call it, but you've also got performance focused goals, whether they're lifting in the gym, running, or they're a separate sport in itself, just know that your performance can be affected by this, and you need to manage it in a balanced way to reduce the amount of detriment that it has on your performance in this particular area. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to fat loss, having already talked about physical performance, is mental performance and mental well-being. A lot of the time, people think, again, that they're going to be lean and they're going to be full of beans, full of energy. To a degree, you can get to a certain point of leanness. For myself in the past and clients I've worked with, it seems to be that 10 to 15% range. Once people near that 10 point though, or go below that, that's where they really start to notice not only the implications and restrictions on their lifestyle and how almost neurotic they have to get about some of their habits to get there, but also the implications that this can have on their levels of energy throughout the day when it comes to having a bit more drive for business and just getting little things done. You'll notice over time, once you're in a prolonged calorie deficit, a prolonged period of fat loss and dieting, that you're going to start to feel fatigued, that you're going to get a bit more lazy, that you're going to get a little bit more preservative of energy, leaning on things more, not fidgeting as much, sitting down a lot more. And this is going to affect the work that you do. Now, when it comes to mental clarity as well, you may notice that some tasks that you seem to do at different points in the day become harder. So where you need to be really cautious with this is knowing that when you're going into a fat loss or a dieting phase and you want to get lean, you need to consider how this is going to implicate on things that you usually do when you're at maintenance or in a surplus, or you're not even considering diet at all. If you're in a relationship or you are someone who is social, the things that you may have to change around due to your training demands, or what you can actually do when it comes to your eating and what sort of restrictions you need to make. Some of the people around you should be aware of this, but you need to create some boundaries for yourself too. You need to let your partner know, your friends, your family know that the physical state that you're in isn't exactly a replicate of what you think of them. You are just more fatigued, you're more tired. Things and people can seem a little bit more demanding. Again, shining a little bit of a negative light on it, because a lot of the time coaches will glorify fat loss and getting lean. And again, whilst I also think it is a cool thing to do, it's a cool thing to experience, just to get a look of what that is like and a feel for what that is like for at least one point in your life, that's going to differentiate whether it's something that you want to keep on doing or whether you're going to be happy with a little bit higher body fat where you're performing better, you're feeling better, your mental well-being's better, and you're just physically in a better state to operate within your training, within your professional life, your personal life, your relationships and whatnot. Now, why I have brought up this today is because I started to reduce my intake a little bit again, so I can reduce a little bit of body fat. And it's just so funny within that first week of doing so, given that my training load hasn't really changed, it definitely hasn't reduced, I can start to feel it affecting my performance a little bit as well. So I'm just setting myself reminders and acknowledging that some of my training sessions are going to be harder. I've got to be more strategic with how I manage my energy throughout the day. I've got to acknowledge the fact that I probably am going to need a little bit more rest. I'm not going to be able to slip up as much on those full nights of sleep. Now, the final thing that I want to bring up is that I was a guy always focused on how he looks. Still am. It's still a large thing that I have to work on personally. Coming from playing sports when I was a kid, particularly coming from being a swimmer as a kid where your body's always on display and you're always seeing these other fit athletes around you. Also just having idols in movies that was super shredded, the superhero types and that, people that you idolize and wanted to look like when you were older. I definitely created body image and aesthetics as a massive value in my life. And I thought this would be the thing to solve a lot of my problems. And if I wasn't confident, it would be the thing to solve it. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I think it is definitely helpful, but you can still have a super good looking body and not be confident within yourself. And then you can start to base your worth on how you look. And that is not a healthy relationship with your body or a healthy relationship with yourself, because you're more than a set of biceps, some abs, and some veins running along them. Now, this is where you need to analyze what your values are. What things can you focus on outside of just how you look, so you can have other values, have other metrics and other goals to work towards outside of a certain level of body fat percentage or how you look in the mirror. Now, personally for myself, training for a sport and most recently running has been great for this, because my metric is not just how lean I am, it's how I'm performing as well. And it also makes it a bit of a balancing act. If I want to get super lean, but I notice that's affecting my running performance, I've got to make the call. What do I value more at this point? Or how can I get the correct balance between where I look, as close as I want to look, but my performance is either getting better, maintaining, or at least not reducing too much. So if there's any main takeaways for you to take from this video today, it is one, that if you're heading towards a rather extreme fat loss goal, let's say you're aiming to get below 10% body fat for the first time in your life, or maybe you're going there again for the second or third, or you're trying to maintain it, and you notice, or you're starting to notice that your performance is reducing, this is going to be a normal thing. Yes, you can better manage your nutrition, recovery, and training load to offset how much this actually affects your performance. However, it is always going to be something that happens, and that is just a given. Secondly, mentally, you're going to start to feel drops in performance as well. If you notice yourself at times getting more stressed, more anxious, you're more tired, this is going to impact not only your narrative up here, but also how you're talking to other people. It's going to affect how you operate for the people that you work for or the business that you run. And it may even affect the way that you talk to your friends, your family, and your partner. So you need to be considerate of all these things when aiming for that fat loss goal. Once you reach this fat loss goal, you've got to consider if this is a healthy point for you to be at, not only physically, but mentally as well. And also understand that if you've had issues with self-confidence in the past, either with a partner or without, and you're someone that is trying to find a relationship, or at least you're dating at this point and testing what's out there in the waters, you need to understand that not everyone is going to give as much of a shit about how lean you are as you do. Contrary to popular belief, if you're someone like me who started to put your body image and aesthetics right up there on your value list, this does not mean that people see it the same way. The actual matter is that a lot of people will just respect the type of person that it may take to get there. Not saying that all lean people are good people, because that's definitely not the case. When we look at character attributes like discipline, patience, resilience, perseverance, these are things that commonly go into someone who has a very good looking physique. And a lot of the times people understand this as a reflection of how you look. It's probably likely that you have some of these character attributes, which are usually attractive to other people. So regardless of how you look in your life, as long as you can carry some of these attributes into everything you do, you're going to be more attractive to your partner and the people around you. So for today, that's my take and my experience with fat loss, and why I think there are some hidden truths and darker sides behind it that people don't talk about. Obviously, they market fat loss and they want to take your money to get you there. And it's not like I don't endorse my own clients getting lean. Like I said, I think it's great for people to get there, see what it's like for them if they want to maintain it. If they don't, if they want to find the balance, it's your experience and you've got to see how it works for you. But there are a lot of people out there who are going to prey on your securities in the fitness industry, all these coaches, and tell you that you need to be lean all year round, you need to be doing this and that, and then they want to charge you an arm and a leg for it, even if it means your mental well-being deteriorates over time. Now, this is just one of the differences when it comes to my coaching, is that I understand that you're probably a guy who does want to get lean, but I've also walked that path and I've seen how it's affected me in my own life. I've seen how it's affected some of the guys I've trained in the past, and this is why we have to build that balance and understand that aesthetics isn't everything. Physical performance and health should be of the utmost importance, and establishing a strong level of self-confidence doesn't imply that you need to be lean for this to happen. So if you are a bloke who is interested in building a leaner, stronger, and more endurable physique, you want to see what it's like to get there, but you need someone to guide you on that pathway, jump down into the description below, apply for the Forge program, which has been specifically designed for men like you, coming from a guy who's walked that path. I can guarantee that if you sign up for this program, you're not going to regret it. If that is something you're interested in doing, then just jump down and make that application below. If you're just here for the free content, for the education, whatever it is, feel free to keep dropping by. Always loving the support that I get here on YouTube. So feel free to also leave a comment below if you've got any questions or suggestions for future content, or if you've got a different view of what I've talked about in this video today. Until next time, guys, see ya.